Okay, so we're going to focus on, in this video, working with BEDMAS with fractions. So again, as I go through the questions, feel free to pause if you take a look here. I want to add these two fractions together. I need what's called a common denominator. Common denominator means that the only way you can add two fractions together if the denominators, i.e. the bottom, are the same number. So what I have to do is, using equivalent fractions, what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the top and bottom of this by 3. Again, by doing that, you're not changing the fraction at all, right? If I multiply the top and bottom by 3, that's essentially like multiplying the top and bottom by 1, right? It's still a ratio of 3 over 4. Likewise, I want to get a 12 in the denominator, so I'm going to multiply top and bottom of this fraction by 4 over 4. So this becomes 9 over 12 plus 8 over 12. Now I have a common denominator. Now the bottoms are the same. And when the bottoms are the same, you just read the top just as it is. So 9 plus 8 is 17, and then the answer would be 17 over 12. Again, pause the video and try this out. Okay, so with this question here, what you want to do is you want to clean this up before we move on to getting common denominators and adding them together. I kind of want to make it look as simple as this one if possible. So right here, the operation between these two minus signs is really multiplication. So when you multiply two negatives together, that just becomes a positive. So you can get rid of the minus sign. Also, negative signs are generally pushed to the numerator. So I'm going to rewrite this, push this to the numerator. Now, once again, I have two minus signs right next to each other. That's multiplication. I can drop that and change it to addition. Now, normally the only reason you would keep brackets around a fraction is if there's a minus sign in the front, like we had here. Since we don't have anything in the front that's negative, you can just drop the brackets completely. And now you'll see we're back to where we were in equation 1. So now I want to get a common denominator. So what's the least common multiple between 8 and 4? Well, that's going to be 8. So I can multiply top and bottom of this by 2. Now I have 3 over 8, plus its equivalent fraction would be 10 over 8. And now I have a common denominator. The bottoms are the same. Add the tops, and you get 13 over 8. Okay, let's try this one here. So again, some simple rules when working with these fractions is anytime you see a negative on the bottom, just push it to the top. So if I rewrite this, we would look like this. Now, if someone wrote down, this is just an aside here, I want to talk about this here, is someone wrote down 2 plus negative 3. That is exactly the same thing as someone writing 2 minus 3. This is a lot easier to work with, and this can be a little bit confusing. So this operation here is a number plus a negative number. Well, if I want to simplify this, I can just write this as negative 2/3 minus 1 over 4. It cleans up the question a little bit, gets rid of the brackets, and that's why they do that in math. A lot of times you'll see 2 minus 3, but that's really the exact same thing as writing 2 plus negative 3. So now again, I want to get a common denominator. That's going to be 12. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 4, top and bottom by 3. That becomes negative 8 over 12 minus 3 over 12. And now again, I have the same bottom, same denominator. So now I can add the tops. So in this case here, negative 8 minus 3, you read it left to right, so this becomes negative 11 over 12. So with this one here, I want to clean this up first. I have two minus signs right next to each other. That operation between this and the minus 5 over 8 is actually multiplication. There's actually a minus 1 sitting right here. So that minus 1 becomes multiplication. So what you're going to want to do here is first clean this up. So the two minuses become positive, becomes positive 5 over 8. And again, the common denominator here would be 8. Multiply top and bottom by 2. I get 6 over 8 plus 5 over 8, giving me 11 over 8. Again, pause the video. Try this one out yourself. So again, to simplify this here, you have to take a look at these two minus signs here, right? These two minus signs, they'll come together and become positive, 13 over 3. And now again, we need a common denominator. That's going to be 6. Multiplying top and bottom by 2, and you end up getting 26 over 6. Now I have a common denominator, so you just read the top just as it is. So in this case here, negative 20 plus 26 is going to be 6 over 6 which reduces to become just 1. So now we have 3 fractions we want to deal with. Again, all the same principles apply. We're going to first want to clean this up if we can. So that minus 4 I'm going to bring to the top and get rid of that plus sign. The 2 minuses here, I'm going to change that to addition. And now we want to get a common denominator between these 3 terms. So I want to find the least common multiple of 6, 4, and 3. Now, the least common multiple of all these would be 12. Now, some people might choose 24 by multiplying the 6 and the 4 together, but there's a smaller one will work. The least common multiple, the smallest number that has 3, 4, and 6 inside of, that's in its multiples is going to be 12. All right. Again, you want to keep them as small as possible. A lot of times the temptation of students is just to multiply these 3 together. In this case here, you'd have 3 times 2 is 12, and 12 times 6. 12 times 6 is going to be 72. The number would be far too large to work with when you could be using a 12. So now I'm going to change. I need to change all the bottoms, all the denominators to 12. So in this case here, I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 4, top and bottom by 3, and top and bottom by 2. So the least common multiple here is 12, and we get negative 8 over 12 minus 3 over 12 plus 10 over 12. And again, once the bottoms are the same, it's just a matter of doing this calculation. So negative 8 minus 3 is negative 11, plus 10 is negative 1. So the answer is negative 1 over 12. Okay, so take a look at number 7 here. Number 7, again, you're going to want to clean it up first. So we're going to have here negative 7 over 2 plus 4 over 3. 2 minuses become positive. And once again, we need to find a least common multiple of 2, 3, and 6. Well, the least common multiple of 2, 3, and 6 is 6. So again, if you had just multiplied these out together, we would have had 36, the number you would have been working with, and the numbers would have gotten huge. So now here I just have to multiply top and bottom by 3, top and bottom by 2, and leave that one unchanged. So this becomes minus 21 over 6, plus 8 over 6, plus 5 over 6. Now again, the bottoms are the same, denominators are the same, so we just take care of adding this together. 8 and 5 is 13, and minus 21 plus 13 is going to give us negative 8. Again, when you get your final answer, you should always make sure it is in lowest terms, and this can be divided top and bottom by 2, in which case we get negative 4/3. Okay, so if you take a look at number 8 here, now we're multiplying across by fractions. So when you're multiplying across by fractions, same idea though, you want to see are there any minus signs that we can take care of. So in this case here, you can, if you want, push all the minus signs to the top, or just count the number of minus signs that's going on. As long as it's a product all the way across here, I've got a negative sign, a negative sign, and a negative sign. We have 4 minus signs. That'll all simplify to become positive, right? Because every 2 minus signs make it a positive. So these 2 minus signs, positive, positive. So I can rewrite this as 4 over 9 times 21 over 32 times 3 over 14. And I recommend you guys drop the multiplication symbols and just put brackets next to them. It's always assumed in mathematics whenever you have that. So again, you won't see, a lot of times you'll see 2 times 3. Very seldomly as you continue, just do people write 2 times 3 with the actual multiplication symbol. This is far more preferred. So now that we have this simplified a bit, we got rid of our minus signs and whatnot, we're looking to see if there's any simplification that can happen in the numerator and denominator. Remember, this is all division between these numbers. Top and bottom can be divided in any combination. So in this case here, I can see I've got a 3 and the 9. So 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 9 divided by 3 is 3. I also have simplification between the 21 and the 14. I can divide top and bottom by 7, reducing to a 3. Top and bottom by, the 14 divided by 7 reduces to a 2. Now I'm gonna write this back down and kind of see where we're at. There is more to simplify, but I think it's a lot easier if you kind of write down where you've gotten here. Now I'm left with this, and we can see I have more simplification going on here. I can divide top and bottom by 2 here, and that'll reduce to become a 2. And you can keep going if you want, rewrite it again. Just try to get it as simplified as possible before you actually multiply these out. Notice this now has simplified to become a 1, so I don't have to write it back down. And lastly, there's one last simplification I see here. The 3's will simplify to become a 1, and this the 2, and divide that by 2. So all of that work we did reduced to become 1 over 16. So notice here, with this question, I didn't even have to multiply a single number. Just by reducing the numerator and denominator, reducing, I got it down to 1 over 16. And that's the advantage to always, before you go ahead and multiply these numbers out, see whether you can do any reduction. Okay, again, I encourage you guys to pause the video, try this out yourselves. So once again, I drop the brackets on this, and I'd make everything positive because I see we have 4 minus signs going on here. Now it's a matter of doing some reduction and reducing some of these numbers here. So I see here the 10 and the 20 can be reduced to become 1 and 2. I also see here the 27 and the 45. I can divide both by 9. 9 times 5 is 45, so this will reduce to become 5. And 9 times 3 is 27. That'll reduce to become 3. And I could also divide top and bottom here by 4. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. And 28 divided by 4 is going to be, 28 divided by 4 is going to be 7. So now I can write this down here. This becomes 1/3, 2 over 2, and 5 over 7. And now those will cancel to become a 1. So this becomes 1/3 times 5 over 7. Now we're in a position where we can multiply. I don't have any more reduction to do here. Once you've reduced fully, then multiplication of fractions is easy. It's just the top with the top, which is 5 times 1 is 5, and the bottom with the bottom, which is 3 times 7 is 21. Okay, so now we're going to move on to number 10 here. So for number 10, we introduce division. So if you remember, when you divide two fractions together, what you do is you change the division symbol to multiplication, and then you flip that second number. The second fraction gets flipped, right? Notice the denominator becomes the numerator and the numerator the denominator. So essentially what you do is you change this to a question of multiplication. So now I'm in a situation I can go ahead and reduce here. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And this becomes 1/4 times 1 over 1, which is just 1 over 4. Okay, so make note of that. When you're dividing two fractions, you change it to multiplication, and then you flip that second term. Okay, moving on to number 11 here. Again, we have division between these two fractions. So what you want to do is you want to change that division to multiplication and flip that second term. So we had 4 over -9. Flip the numerator and denominator. Now you change it to a question of multiplication. Now what you want to take a look at here is you can drop this multiplication symbol and just rewrite this as 7 over 10 times -9 over 4. And now what I would do here is look in the top and bottom and see if we can get any reduction going on here. If I look in the -9 and the 10, I don't see any reduction between these. I don't see any reduction between these. So we're done now. I can't do any more reduction. I just have to multiply these out. So when you multiply fractions, you multiply the top with the top and bottom with the bottom. So -7 times -9 is +63, and 10 times 4 is 40. Okay, let's take a look at number 12 here. So right away, before I even change this to multiplication, I'm going to rewrite this as 7 over 12, because we know the two minus signs become positive. Now I'm going to go ahead and change that division symbol to multiplication, and then I'm going to flip that fraction. Again, don't forget to flip the fraction. That's a really important step. At this point here, I would just get rid of the multiplication symbol and just put these between brackets. Just a lot more common and easier to handle. So now I can see reduction between the 6 and the 12. That reduces to become 2 over 1. So now we have 11 over 1 times 2 over 7. And now there's no more reduction. So you multiply tops with tops, which is 22, bottoms with bottoms, which is 7, and we are done. Okay, so take a look at number 13 here. Now this is an interesting question because in this situation, obviously you're dividing all the way across. Think of this in terms of just straight numbers. Let's say you had 2 divided by 3 divided by 4. Whenever you're in a situation here where they don't tell you what am I supposed to do, right? Do I divide 2 by 3? Do I divide 3 by 4? The answers will differ in that situation. Had they put brackets around this expression, so let's say they put the brackets here, then I would know, okay, B stands for brackets. I have to do what's in the brackets first. But that's not the case. And likewise, had they put brackets around here, then again, I'd say B stands for brackets. I do the 2 divided by 3 first. So in this situation here, when you get something like this, you do the operations from left to right in that situation. So similarly, we're going to do the same thing here. I don't have any brackets, right? They didn't put brackets around the expression like this, or vice versa, the first two. So I'm just going to read this from left to right, and that's what I'm going to do. So if I'm going to go ahead and divide this out, I'm first going to divide the first 2 here. So doing that here, this becomes, again, I would go ahead and change division to multiplication and flip it. We might as well push that minus sign to the top on the other one. Now here, if you take a look, I'm going to go ahead and, oh, notice here I did the 2 minus signs, I made them positive. Notice here I'm going to reduce this now. So 2 divided by 2 is 1, and negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And let's rewrite this and see what we have. So I have negative 3 over 25 times 21 over 1 divided by negative 14 over 25. And again here, if we see any reduction, I can see here I've got no reduction going on here. The 25 is just 5 times 5. This is 3 times 7. These are 3's. So I have to go ahead and multiply this out. When I multiply this out here, tops with tops will give me negative 63. And 25 times 1 is 25. And for this one here, I'm going to change that to multiplication and flip it. And in this case here, now you get some reduction. So the 25's cancel. And now we're left with negative 63 over 1 times 1 over negative 14. Those 2 minus signs become positive, and we get 63 over 14. Okay, let's take a look at number 14 here. So for number 14, right, if you look at your BEDMAS rules here, we see that division comes before multiplication. So in this case here, we have to take care of this expression first. So I've got here 5 over 2, change division to multiplication, and flip. And I'm going to get rid of that multiplication symbol and just change it show multiplication with the brackets. Now we're looking to reduce here. So the 3's cancel. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. Likewise, 5 divided by 5 is 1, and divide that by 5, you get negative 2. I'm going to rewrite this as it's getting a little bit messy here. So this is 1 over 1. This is, those 3's cancel, so this is 1 over negative 2. And this is 4 over 1. So this ends up being 4 over negative 2, which is just negative 2. Okay, so now take a look at number 15 here. So if you're looking at 15, again, go to your BEDMAS here, right? Go to our BEDMAS rules, and what do we see? Well, I see division is before multiplication. So that means that now what I have to do is I have to take care of this expression first. So this becomes negative 15 over 4 times 8 over 5. And now I'm going to change that division symbol to multiplication and flip. And now that we do that, we have some reduction that we can do here. The 5's will cancel. I can divide top and bottom by 4. That'll become a 2. Let's rewrite this so we can kind of see where we're at here. That's 2 over 1, and that's 1 over negative 6. And now again, there's still more reduction to do. So before you go ahead and multiply things out, you should always see if you can reduce 2 divided by 2 is 1. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And now I'm left with negative 15 over 1 times 1 over negative 3. And that comes out to be 5. Okay, here's number 15. Okay, take a look at number 16 here. So again, we're using our BEDMAS rules, right? So when I take a look at my BEDMAS rules, B stands for brackets. I have to take care of what's in the brackets first. So if I'm taking care of what's in the brackets first, here we have 4/5 times, I have to get a common denominator between this. Well, the common denominator here will be 8. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2. So this becomes 3 over 8 plus negative 14 over 8. Close those brackets. We get 4/5 times, now we have 3 plus negative 14 is negative 11 over 8. I can now rewrite this. I'm going to get rid of that multiplication symbol and just put my brackets. And now again, before you go ahead and multiply this out, see if this cancels and reduces, which it does. And we end up getting 1/5 times negative 11 over 2. Now I'm in a situation where I'm multiplying fractions. There's no reduction to do here. Now I multiply the tops with the tops, bottoms with the bottoms, and we're done. Okay, let's take a look at number 17 here. So again, for your BEDMAS here, what do we have? If you're looking at BEDMAS, B stands for brackets. We got to take care of the brackets first. So if I'm going to take care of the brackets for this question, I'm going to have to evaluate this expression in the brackets. This is division. So what do? Well, we change division to multiplication. So this becomes negative 18 over 5 times, flip it, and just rewrite what you don't touch back down. Now, in this situation here, again, you're looking to see if there's any cancellation. The 5s will cancel, dividing top and bottom by 5. In this case here, I can divide top and bottom by 9. I get negative 2 and 3. So let's kind of rewrite what we have here. If I rewrite what I have here, I end up getting here negative 2 over 1 times 1 over 3. Close those brackets. We might as well change the 2 minus signs to a positive and put plus 6 over 11. So this becomes negative 2/3 plus 6 over 11. Notice here I dropped the big brackets around the outsides and nothing left to reduce, so tops with tops, bottoms with bottoms. And now we've simplified this question here to something far easier. So now I'm looking for a common denominator, in which case it's going to be 33. So I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 11, top and bottom by 3, and we get negative 22 over 33 plus 18 over 33 is equal to negative 4 over 33. And that is in lowest terms. You should always check to make sure it is in lowest terms. 33 is just 3 times 11, and 4 is just 2 times 2, so there's no reduction that's going to happen with this question. Okay, let's take a look at number 18 here. So for number 18, again, let's consider BEDMAS. So BEDMAS says B for brackets. I have to take care of what's in the brackets first. So I'm focusing all my attention on these brackets here. So let's take care of that. I need a common denominator, so I'm going to multiply top and bottom by 2. This becomes negative 5 over 6 plus 4 over 6 times negative 3/4 divided by 5 over 6. Okay, let's now take care of what's in the brackets. So now that I have a common denominator, I just add the tops, in which case I get negative 1 over 6 times negative 3 over 4 divided by 5 over 6. Now if you go to your next set here, if you go to your next set of brackets here, we end up getting, I have multiplication division. Division happens before, so therefore I have to tackle this problem first. So this becomes negative 1 over 6 times, change division to multiplication and flip, and then we can go ahead and start reducing a bit here. I'll notice here that I got to take this operation here, divide top and bottom by 2. This becomes 2. This becomes 3. And let's rewrite what we have here. I have negative 6 over 1, negative 3 over 2, and lastly 3 over 5. So if I look in the top here, I have 3's in the tops, and I have 1 3 here I can reduce. So I can go ahead and divide top and bottom by 3. This will be a 1. This will be a 2. And let's write down what we have. I have negative a half, minus 3 over 2, and 1 over 5. Now this is fully reduced, and we're multiplying 3 fractions together. Tops with the tops becomes 3, and bottoms with the bottoms becomes 2 times 5, giving you 20. And that is in lowest terms. Okay, that concludes this BEDMAS with rational expressions. Again, I hope that you guys pause the video, try out the questions, and see how you did. If not, you can go back, retry them out again now that you have an overview, and try to solve them on your own. Thank you.